What's up guys, it's Zmok, and a lot of you guys have been requesting a Holy Paladin guide for Mythic Plus, so here it is. I just want to say that this guide is going to be my playstyle and what I do. Some people might have like different opinions or do a little bit of different playstyle, but I'm going to go through what I do, and in this guide we're going to go through the talents, stats, Azerite Traits, essences, trinkets, consumables, healing rotation, some add-ons and Weakauras, damage rotation, macros, and corruption. So let's just head into it. Okay, so the first step here is the talents, and for the talents you definitely want to go with Crusader's Might in order to reset your holy shocks as fast as possible and apply as many glimmer as possible, which we're gonna get into in the Azerite traits in a second. Second talent, you want to take Unbreakable Spirit to reduce the cooldown of your bubble, your Divine Protection, which is your damage reduction cooldown, it's going to be reduced to 42 seconds. And then your Lay on Hands, which is going to be down to 7 minutes, but it's very helpful to have a Lay on Hands in order to like top people quick, mainly the tank. In the third row here, you want to go with Blinding Light or Fist of Justice. Maybe in rare cases, if you play like a little bit of a scuffed setup that doesn't really have any CC, then you could go with Repentance, but this is not a true CC, so if you walk close to a mob that is in Repentance, then you will get in combat, so you need to be careful with this one. But mainly Blinding Light, some cases Fist of Justice. You can do it like an Underrod in order to like stun the Swarmers, they hurt a lot on high keys for sure, so Blinding Light or Fist of Justice. For the fourth row here, Devotion Aura in order to take less damage. It's super useful for high keys with whenever there's like AoE and stuff like this. It's also very helpful even just for the tank on some big pulls if you just need a defensive cooldown and you don't have sec, for example. So Aura Mastery is definitely good with Devotion Aura. Holy Avenger just for more haste and more Holy Shock healing. Holy Prism is not really good, and Judgment of Light not usable as well. Really bad for Mythic Plus. So Holy Avenger is the way to go here. In this column you want to go Sanctified Wrath in order to get longer duration on your wings, which is super good, and again reduce cooldown on your Holy Shock, which you're gonna need because of the Glimmer build. For the last column, Divine Purpose, and that's also because you can proc Holy Shocks and then more Glimmer, more damage, more healing. So this is also the play. Also, if you have triple Glimmer, for example, and you have Glimmer on multiple party members, then having a beacon on the tank, he's gonna get healing from the glimmers. Like the Glimmer healing is gonna go into the beacon. So it's a lot of tank healing as well in order to have a single beacon. So definitely take Divine Purpose in this one. Okay, so about the stats, what you want to aim for is mainly crit, haste, versatility. And the reason why you want to have high crit is because you want to get the Holy Shock crits for big healing and also for proccing your Infusion of Light. You do, however, not always need Infusion of Light, but it's always nice to have it in some situation where you might have to cast a Flash of Light or like spam heal the tank a bit. But also the reason why I do not have this much crit right now is because first of all it's a bit early into the season. Second of all, I use the Mechagon rings here, and for example this ring doesn't give any crit at all. So I enchanted it with crit and suck it with crit of course. But these Mechagon rings actually heals a lot. Like normally they do like 5 to 9% of my healing done in high Mythic Plus, depending on the key of course. Like if it's a healing intense dungeon, then it might not do as high percentage wise, but they still do heal a lot. And the rings can actually crit as well, so they crit for nearly 30k to 5 party members whenever I proc them. But what I did here is that I just enchanted my weapon with Deadly Navigation in order to like get a little bit more crit as well. But there's a soft cap of crit, and that is 40%, and that is why like when you proc your wings, then you have 100% crit chance with your Holy Shocks. So there's a soft cap of 40%, so if you can get that, that's great, but if not, then you're probably gonna do just fine with like around 30 to 35% crit, that's fine as well. Haste, I would go for maybe about 20 to 25 max. Versatility, try and aim towards maybe 10%, and Mastery, you don't really need that much. But if you go into high temple keys or like into heavy healing dungeons, maybe like Weakauras with Grievous or something like this, then you could take more haste versatility or haste mastery in order to heal more, and then maybe lower your crit a little bit. But mainly you just want to go for the big damage, which is crit, haste, and versatility. That's what you want to aim for. Okay, so for the Azerite Traits, what you want to go for here is triple Glimmer, double Judgment, and 1 Light's Decree. You only want to take 1 Light's Decree because this one is it does not stack, but it increases your wings duration by 6.3 seconds. So it's basically like a free proc by taking one of these, like every time you pop your own wings. The Judgment trait, it does a lot of damage whenever your target is low. Like I think I crit up to maybe 175k, so it's really good prio damage. Glimmer is nice for more healing and also more damage as well. If you're having trouble with getting double Judgment rate, then you can go with Heart of Darkness. And this one you can obtain from the raid, but the double Judgment rate you can get it from either PvPing. I got like my head and chest from there, but you can also get a hit from Titan Residum from the vendor. And the same with the chest, you can get a chest with Glimmer, Judgment, and Vampiric Speed from the vendor as well. So for the third ring, what I like to go with is Overwhelming Power or Unstable Flames, because they give you stats. And the Overwhelming Power is a ton of haste, and Unstable Flame is it actually gives quite a lot of crit as well. And as you know, like haste, crit, or even versatility, those kind of stats you can use for damage and healing as well. So that's a really good choice here. If you cannot get Overwhelming Power or Unstable Flames, then you should try and get Life Speed, just for the extra haste as well. So for the very last ring, what I like to choose here is Resounding Protection or Vampiric Speed. Vampiric Speed is super good in dungeons such as Weakauras Manor, where there's like a lot of maggots, and the maggots will just die instantly. And you will heal for like nearly full HP just when you kill them. And the maggots have very low HP, but it doesn't matter. Like this trait only cares about when you kill any targets. Doesn't matter what kind of HP they have. Resounding is really good in some boss fights. For example, in atal'dazar at the last boss, or maybe during Upheaval on the first boss in atal'dazar, because you cannot avoid that one as a paladin. You either have to bubble or just soak it with defensive. If you cannot get any of these two, then you could take Impassive Visage. Not too bad of a trade. Or even in Underrod you could go with Gem Hide as well, because the Tantrum on the second boss, after the first tick you're going to proc Gem Hide, and then you have extra avoidance and armor, so you take less damage from the Tantrum. So those choices are not too bad. So for the essences, what I like to play here is Vision of Perfection Major. You can also play Formless Void Major, but the reason why I play Vision Major is because whenever I get a wing proc, it's going to boost my Consecration damage a lot, Judgment damage a lot. Also, like with higher Judgment damage, I get more prio damage, and it's gonna boost my Glimmer healing and damage, and my Holy Shock initial hit. I play Conflict and Strife Minor for the more versatility, and this is gonna boost my healing and damage as well. Formless Void only to reduce my corruption a little bit, because I feel like if I have 58 corruption, it's gonna be like the eye is just gonna do too much damage and the circle is gonna be too big. So I like to reduce my corruption a little bit. That's why I have this one in the minor. Maybe later on it's gonna be switched out with the Crucible of Flame again, because we're gonna get more corruption resistance. Or maybe I just start to wear more corruption and I'm just still gonna play this. I'm not sure yet. Ever Rising Tide minor as well, because 3k intellect proc, it's pretty insane for damage as well. So that's what I like to do. You can, however, also play Formless Void in Major, and then you can like steal the beam if you like that, but like I like the Vision proc more because the prior damage and stuff. If you play with Formless Void Major, you might want to go with Spirit of Preservation minor as well, just to have like some extra healing during the downtime of your cooldowns. So this is what I normally play with. Okay, so now for the trinkets. What I've been playing with for the past few weeks here is the Raffian trinket. It has like 50 to 55% uptime, and then the Conch from Shrine, which has around 20 to 25% uptime, I believe. And these two trinkets give flat intellect, and as I said before, like the flat intellect, it's big consecration damage, judgment damage, and initial hit of the Holy Shock damage. You could also play with the Manifesto trinket. This one lines up perfectly with your wings and your Holy Avenger, so this one is also a good choice. A trinket like Raden trinket, it gives flat haste but no intellect. And for Mythic Plus, I feel like the intellect boost is really, really nice. It would be like if this one was like versatility, and then it could like proc haste, or like if it had like intellect flat and it could proc haste, then it would be really good, you know. But I do not really prefer this trinket for Mythic Plus. It's super good for raiding though, so that's what you want to keep in mind. But these trinkets is what I like to use at the moment. Maybe if I get lucky and get like a big badge from arena, then I might use that one because it gives nearly 4k intellect when you proc it. So I might consider that as soon as I can get it. The fuse you can also use, which is gonna give you haste, but I think I prefer the conch a little bit more just to get that extra crit. But this is what I'm playing with at the moment. One more thing is if you're an alchemist, then you can also get the alchemy trinket, and it's super easy to get, and it's a trinket with a free socket. It's big. It's a big intellect proc, so it's also super good. The mana potion bonus you don't really need, but the healing pot bonus is pretty nice as well in some dungeons. So that's an easy trinket to get as well. And you could probably use that one instead of, for example, the Raffian trinket. Okay, so at the food here, what you want to do is that in the beginning of a dungeon, you want to eat biltong in order to get high versatility. I'm going to come back to this later. Then you want to have sugar crusted fish feast and seafoam coconut water. Or if you have a mage, you can get the mage to craft food instead of the seafoam coconut water. And the reason why you want to do this is because you can actually eat the fish feast together with the seafoam coconut water or the mage food at the same time, so that you actually gain mana faster. But as you are a paladin, you don't actually need a lot of mana that often, but sometimes you do, and then this is a fast way to regen. So the reason why I want to go with biltong food here is because it actually gives you higher versatility than the fish feast itself. And the fish feast, what it does is that it actually overrides any buff that does not give higher versatility than the fish feast itself. So you might as well just use the biltong, because otherwise, like let's say a couple of minutes into the dungeon, then you're gonna end up overriding your own buff. As you can see on this sanguinated feast here, it's just gone when you start eating the fish feast already. So that's why you want to go with the biltong, because it cannot be overridden. So for the potions that I use the most is Empowered Proximity and Unbridled Fury. Empowered Proximity you want to use if there's 5 or more mobs. Unbridled Fury is more for like single target or prior damage. So you can also use this one if it's even if it's like a semi-big pack, but there's like a mob that you need to focus down, you can use Unbridled Fury. But otherwise, if there's like 3 mobs or something with them around the same HP, then you could use Superior Intellect Potion instead. Mana wise, you have Custom Mana Potion and you have Potion of Replenishment, but I mean, as a Holy Paladin, you don't really use mana, so I really never really use this. Like some cases, if you like, if stuff is not going as expected, then sometimes you have to like spam Flash of Light or something on the tank, and then you might want to use a custom mana potion. But Potion of Replenishment, I never found myself using this one as a Holy Paladin in Mythic Plus. And the next pot is Light Food Potion, and this is basically just a movement speed pot, and it's super good in cases where you might have to like run far. For example, like in Temple after the first boss, if you want to like skip something and you shroud, and then you might fall a little bit behind because you don't have a lot of mobility. You only have like your horse, and then you have this Light Food Potion. So stack up on these, they're really good to have, so you don't fall behind. Okay, so next up we have the Abyssal Healing Potion, and this one gives like a huge amount of health. And the cool thing about them is that they don't share cooldown with any of your damage pots or intellect pots. So definitely stack up on these, and if you are a little bit tryhard, then you could also invite a warlock to your group and then get the health stones and then kick the warlock and start the dungeon. The thing is, you cannot go to Proving Grounds and pick up health stones anymore, because as soon as you actually start the key, those will get removed, but you can still get them from a warlock for some reason, and I have no clue why. Last but not least, you want to get Flask, you want to get runes, like if you're a little bit tryhard at least, and then there's scrolls as well. So what you want to go for is Greater Flask of Endless Fathoms, gives you 360 intellect. If you're an alchemist, then they last for 2 hours instead of 1. Battle Scarred Rune, you can buy them on Auction House, or if you get a certain reputation with Uldum, then you can actually get like a rune that you can use all the time for no additional cost. So you should definitely try and get that, but I've been slacking a little bit, so I don't have it myself. War Scroll of Intellect, just to boost your intellect, or if you have a mage in your group, you don't have to care about that. a War Scroll of Fortitude to boost your stamina, because who brings a priest into Mythic Plus, right? And then also it's gonna boost your damage by, for example, Twilight Devastation or Echoing Void, or what kind of corruption you're using. So definitely get these kind of scrolls. Okay, so now to the healing rotation, and the truth is there's actually no real healing rotation. First of all, you can actually remove Holy Light from your bar. Like, I at least never use it in Mythic Plus. I actually just remove it when I play Mythic Plus in order to never fat finger it, because it's just waste of time, and like Flash of Light is just better. And normally as a paladin you'd never have mana problems. Like even on super high temple keys where it's pretty healing intense, I don't even use Holy Light, because you never really go that and in case you do, then you have your mana pot as mentioned earlier. But as I said, there's some tips that you always can use here, and for example in Underrot here, before the Tantrum, like this is just a good example, then you want to try and get Glimmer up on your whole party in order to do as much party healing as possible, since you don't play with Beacon of Virtue, so you rely on your Glimmers. I put Beacon on myself here because I feel like I might be one of the squishiest target here. And the thing is, if I die, then we're all gonna die here, because we don't have a combat rest. I mean, we have engineering battle rest, but no real combat rest. So Glimmer on everyone here before Tantrum, and then you rotate your CDs. You use like, for example, you can use for the first one, you can use Wings. The second one, like Wings and Personal. The second one, you can use AM and the Holy Avenger, and then the third one, you can use Wings again, or you can like Bob. Like Bob actually removes all damage taken here by Tantrum, because it's pure physical damage. Then you can sack a party member, so you basically just need to like rotate your cooldowns. Like the best tip I can give you right now is, like, if you're looking for certain scenarios, then definitely check some of my other YouTube videos, and if you check like in the top left of my screen, then you can see every single ability that I use, and then you can see like for every single boss, if you're looking for like certain scenarios, then you can see what I'm doing to like prepare healing like high amount of damage take. And then I have a cool little Weakauras right here, and this one basically shows on the party frame what ability the enemy is about to cast on the target and who he's targeting. So for example, on this boss here, you can see the golden spit, and then what you can do is that you can pre-immune the golden spit, so you just need to like react in time. Or for example in Motherlode, there's also like the third boss where you need to dispel the debuff. You can see where the debuff is going, so you can insta dispel it. And for example here, as I said, you can pre-immune it, and also what you can do here is pre-healing. So you don't need the Weakauras for that necessarily, but whenever you get this debuff here, then you need to like start casting Flash of Light before it ticks, and then exactly when it ticks, then you finish your Flash of Light, and then you Holy Shock into a friendly target, for example, in order to top them as quickly as possible. If your Holy Shock is on cooldown, you can also Flash of Light into instantly Light of a Martyr. Another super good Weakauras to have is the one that makes you able to see all the defensives that your party has. So for example on the Mage here, I can see like he has Ice Block, and like when he has Combustion and all this kind of stuff. So it tells you if you need to like pop an external CD to help them out, or if they have something they can use themselves. So this one is like super helpful as well. I'm gonna link all of these Weakauras in the description, so you guys can just go and get them. I didn't really tell much about Light of Dawn, but Light of Dawn you can use like if there's a lot of people stacked, and also then all the healing is gonna go into Beacon, so it's a decent heal, and if you don't really have anything, then it's a quick heal just to throw off. But I would recommend like using Holy Shock if you have that one instead. But it is a nice little AoE heal just to throw out. But I don't use it on cooldown. It's a bit random whenever I use it, to be honest. Okay, so now for the fun part about playing Paladin. That's damage. And what you want to do is that you pop Wings, Holy Avenger, and then you Judgment into Holy Shock, into Consecration, and then you can Crusader Strike, Holy Shock again. And if you just look here in the left, in the top, then you can see all the abilities that I'm using. Whenever you have downtime on your abilities, then you want to pop Consecration again. It's really that simple. I have some pretty cool macros, which I'm also going to link in the description. One of them is a Crusader Strike macro, where you don't necessarily have to target the enemy in order to use your Crusader Strike. So basically, as you can see here, I target myself, and then I go close to the dummy, I press Crusader Strike, and then I still, even though I target myself, I'm still resetting Holy Shock by pressing Crusader Strike, because it just hit like the enemy target. Pretty much all of my macros are mouse over macros, except for like Flash of Light. And the reason why I don't have Flash of Light mouse over is because I like to be able to like right click and then turn my camera around and see my surroundings while I cast Flash of Light. But my Holy Shock, Judgment, and Sec and Lay on Hands, everything that is instant is mouse over macros. So these kind of macros, I made it so that whenever I mouse over any target here, then I apply Glimmer, so it's quick to get Glimmer up on a full pack that you're about to kill, or you can mouse over with Judgment as well. But if you target an enemy and you hold right click down, then so basically you don't have any mouse over target, then it's just gonna go directly into your current target. So if you're running with a pack, then it can be a little bit weird to like mouse over while the mobs are running and stuff. So then you can hold right click down, and then it's just going into your current target. So these macros are also going to be linked in the description. Okay, so the very last thing I need to talk about is the corruption. And what I'm currently playing with is tier 2 Twilight Devastation on my gloves and tier 2 Twilight Devastation on my shield. And the cool thing about Twilight Devastation is that it doesn't really matter about the item level of the piece where you have Twilight Devastation. I kind of want to try Gushing Wounds, but unfortunately I haven't really got any of those corruptions yet. And the thing is, with Gushing Wounds, you also need to get it on a high item level piece in order for it to do like the highest amount of damage. But Twilight Devastation doesn't really care. You lose a little bit of stamina, but it is like a minor loss in the damage of the corruption. So Twilight Devastation definitely does a ton of damage, and it's not the best single corruption for sure, but whenever it procs on a big pack, you can do insane amount of damage. But for heavy healing dungeons, you might not want to go with Grant Illusions, because this one can mess you up pretty big time. Like for example, if you play Junkyard, then you have like all these Grunters fixating random targets, and then the Grant Illusions are gonna spawn very often. So you might want to lower your corruption a little bit below 40, just to make sure that you don't get like combo, like get a hit into the Grand Illusion. You can also like always hotch, or you can blinding light the Grand Illusions, but you might want to use that for the mobs as well. So you need to be careful. The Grand Illusion only procs if you take damage. So in a lot of dungeons, you barely ever see them actually. So it really depends. But the higher corruption you have, then the Eye of Corruption is also going to do more damage. And it's going to be a bigger circle, so as you don't have a lot of mobility as a paladin, you really want to be careful. But I feel like going just a little bit above 40 is really good for the most cases. In heavy healing intense dungeons, you can go like with any corruption that gives you increase of your stats, like for example crit, so you can get that soft cap on like 40%. You can also go with like versatility corruption that increase your versatility, but that's about it. But for now, I play with Twilight Devastation, and it seems to do pretty good. It's around 20% of my overall damage in dungeons. As I said, I really want to try the Gushing Wounds, but you need a high item level piece, so it's harder to get, and it's super expensive to buy. But as soon as we get access to like the tournament realm for MDI and stuff, then I'm gonna test it to see if it's actually worth as a healer to equip that. But maybe it's just gonna be Twilight Devastation anyways. So I'm not sure about that one yet, but I will figure it out at least. And remember, if you have any questions, you can always join my Twitch channel, and there will be a link down below, and you can ask me any question there. And if you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up, and if you did not, then give it a dislike. And let me know if you want more guides or any kind of videos like this. And until then see you next time. I'm feeling